I'm so happy to meet all of you via this channel. There are lots of videos available for the students who are studying in Tamil medium, but bad luck, very few videos only available for the students who are studying in English medium. Keeping that in mind, I decided to shoot this video. So, the lesson that we are going to discuss today is Indian Constitution. So, in which, in the previous video, I have already very clearly explained about how Indian Constitution was made. And also I explained about what are the salient features of Indian Constitution, where I talked about need for our Indian Constitution, why we needed a constitution, what were the efforts taken by English to make our Indian Constitution, how the Constituent Assembly was set up, how the constitutional experts, I mean the constitutional members, how were they elected, who headed the Constituent Assembly, and what were the committees which were appointed to frame Indian Constitution. Among them, which was the most important committee, where I clearly talked about the drafting committee, which was headed by Dr. Ambedkar. He played a vital role in framing Indian Constitution. That's why he is known as father of Indian Constitution. So like that, in the previous video, we have already discussed about various aspects of Indian Constitution. Today, in this video, we are going to discuss about fundamental rights. So you all know that rights are essential. Without which, our life becomes meaningless. So that our Indian Constitution has granted six fundamental rights to its citizens. The fundamental rights are mentioned under Part 3 of our Indian Constitution. It is known as Magna Carta of India. So you know that when the peoples are denied rights, the denial leads to outbreak of violation, or the denial leads to outbreak of revolution. Just if you look back, you can see you have studied you might have studied about the outbreak of French Revolution. The French Revolution is an example for a denial of fundamental rights, where the French people were deprived of their rights. Here I can point out the American War of Independence. The people of America, they fought against their motherland for getting rights, for getting independence. Even we people, the Indian people also were denied their fundamental rights during the British rule. We were not given equal rights by English. That's why we fought against the English. We fought for our rights and achieved independence in 1947. So these things very clearly depict that which are very essential. The fundamental rights are very essential. So that's why our Indian Constitution has granted six fundamental rights. Actually, when the Constitution came into force, we were given seven fundamental rights, but by the Amendment of 44, that happened in the year of 1978, deleted right to property. That right to property was dropped from fundamental rights by an amendment in the year of 1978. Now the right to property is made a legal right, not a fundamental rights. So right now, the people of India, I mean we are all enjoying six fundamental rights, about which we are going to learn it one by one. The first fundamental right that is mentioned in our constitution is right to equality. The Article 14 of Indian Constitution says about equality before law. It means that all the citizens who are living in India are treated with equal rights. There is no discrimination. The people are not discriminated by the court of law. So Article 15 says it prohibits discrimination on grounds of religion and race or caste. So based on religion or based on race or caste, who are not discriminated. The people are never discriminated by the court of law, or the people are never discriminated by the government. Article 16 says very clearly about equal opportunity in the matters of public employment. The citizens who are living in India are given equal opportunity. Article 17 very strictly prohibits untouchability. You know that in your textbook also it is printed, untouchability is a sin, it's a crime, it's punishable by law. So Article 17 strictly prohibits untouchability. And also Article 18 that talks about abolition of titles except military grounds. So these are all the rights which are known as right to equality. So we have all rights to live in our society with equal rights. So the next fundamental rights mentioned in our constitution is right to freedom. Here, the Article 19 says freedom of speech. We have all rights to express our ideas. We have all rights to even criticize the functioning of government. We have all rights to assemble in a place, but we should not indulge in violence. So, in a peaceful manner or in a peaceful way, the citizens are permitted to assemble anywhere in India or anywhere in a place. Next right is that we have all rights to form association. So for an example, there is the association for students, SFI, Student Federation of India, which is formed to protect the rights of students. Like that, the associations are formed for teachers and other government employees. So which permits for this, the right to freedom, I mean the right to freedom fundamental right that permits Indian citizens to form association. Even we have all rights to move anywhere in India. That is called movement of residence. We have all rights to move anywhere in India. No need to get any passport or visa to move to travel across our country. So we have all rights to move anywhere, and we have all rights to take any profession. We have all rights to settle anywhere in India. So this is ensured by the Article 19 of our Constitution. Article 20, where it says about protection in respect of conviction for offenses. Offenses means crime. So in case a man is committed crime, he can be arrested and also jailed. But the man who committed a crime, he should be punished for that crime only once, not for twice. So in that way, the people who committed offenses are protected by the rights of right to freedom. Article 21 says protection of life and personal liberty. We have all rights. The government has also a responsibility to protect our life. So we enjoy all our personal liberty that cannot be even interfered by the government. So Article 21 ensures protection of life and personal liberty. Article 21A says right to elementary education. We have all rights to get education. It is a duty of governments to provide the citizens elementary education, because education is the only source which can eliminate the poverty in our society. So education for elevation, that is to be given by the government. So we have all rights to get that education. Article 22 says protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. So in case a citizen is arrested for a crime, he can be detained, he can be jailed. But in that case, the man or the citizen who is arrested should be produced before the court, I mean before the judiciary within 24 hours. So that prevents the illegal arrest. So these are all the rights which are mentioned and the right to freedom. The third fundamental right is right against exploitation. So here, who are exploited? Children and the women are exploited. Prohibition of trafficking in human beings and forced labors. So here, who are engaged in forced labors? The children. The children are expected to be admitted in schools. Even in the fundamental rights, it is very clearly mentioned that right to elementary education. The education should be given to the children. The school going children should never be engaged in any work. That particularly the children who are below the age of 14 should never be engaged in any work. So Article 23 strictly prohibits the employment of children in any industry. Article 24 says prohibition of employment of children in factories. So here, under the right against exploitation, the children and the women are protected. They are protected from exploitation of their work. So women trafficking and employment of children strictly prohibited by this rights. I mean, by the rights of right against exploitation. Next, the right is a right to religion. So you know that India is basically a multi-religious society and also a multicultural society. So here Article 25 says freedom of conscience and free profession, practice and propagation of any religion. Propagation means spreading. So the people who are living in India, they have all rights to spread their religions. Even they have Article 26 says they have all rights to manage their religious affairs, religious matters. They can manage their religious matters. Even Article 27 says freedom from payment of taxes for promotion of any religion. So here the people I can collect, particular religious people can collect, can pay taxes, but that should not be collected compulsorily. So it should be an optional. And Article 28 says freedom from attending religious instruction or worship in certain educational institutions. So in educational institutions also, we can attend religious ceremonies, but that should not be government institutions. So like that, the constitution has given various rights. The fifth right which is mentioned here is that cultural and educational rights. So particularly Article 29 says protection of language and scripts and their culture. For example, Tamilians, we do have our own culture. We have all rights to protect our language, Tamil language, script. Script means the letters, our Tamil letters. We have all rights to protect it. Article 30 says right of minorities to establish and administer an educational institution. So minority means other than Hindus, the people, other religious people who are living in India are called, other than Hindus are called minorities. They have all rights to establish a school or colleges, or even they can establish various educational institution for the benefit of the minorities, which is also allowed by Indian Constitution. So the right, cultural and educational rights, we give them that right. I mean, it gives them rights to establish schools and colleges. The last right which is mentioned here is right to constitutional remedies. So it is the most important right. So the sixth rights duty is protecting the rest of five rights. So in any of these rights are violated, by using the right to constitutional remedies, we can approach judiciary. So even we can directly approach High Court or Supreme Court in case a citizen's rights is violated. So that is the significant aspect of the right to constitutional remedies. Article 32 is very, very essential because the right to constitutional remedies only protect the other rights. So that's why Article 32 is to be treated a very important right. That's why Dr. Ambedkar also has described it. The Article 32 is the heart of fundamental rights. You know, heart is a very important organ in human body. So of course, we may have various important organs, Among them, the most important organ is heart. If the heart stops its function, who cannot be alive? The man cannot be alive. So that's why the Article 32 is compared with the functioning of heart. So these are all the six fundamental rights which we enjoy, which are enshrined in Indian Constitution under Part 3. So I already told you that right to property was deleted. It was deleted from fundamental rights by the 44th Amendment in 1978. Now it is made legal right. The reason is that right to property should not be allowed. If it is allowed in India, which cannot be established, the social justice, I mean social equality cannot be achieved. So social justice means it should be minimized. The economical differences among the people should be minimized. So the rich should not become rich and richer. So with the intention of establishing social justice in India, which was deleted, the right to property was deleted from fundamental right and was made a legal right. So next we are going to talk about directive principles. Directive means that giving direction. Principles means policies and means ideas. So these policies are mentioned for state. State means government. So as far as our country is concerned, there are two governments, the state government and the central government. The government which is functioning at state level is called the state government. The government which is functioning at national level is called the central government. So for example, direction means giving idea. For example, just I am standing in a place, a man comes to me and asks me for a direction. He wants me to guide him to go to railway station. Just then I give him idea. I direct him. I show him a way to reach railway station. So in the same way, here the governments, I mean both the state government and the central governments are directed. They are given ideas. They are directed by these principles. So the legislation process is very important. Legislation means making laws, making rules and regulation. So it is done at two levels. One is at state level and another one is done at central level. So parliament also can make legislation, state government also can make legislation. So while lawmaking process are done, the governments, both the state government and the central governments are expected to keep in mind the directive principles. By keeping the directive principles in mind, the state government and the central government should make legislation, which should be given more importance. The policies, I mean the principles which are mentioned under directive principles of our Indian constitutions are to be given importance. So the directive principles are mentioned. Article 36 to 51 in our Indian constitutions talk about the directive principles, which can be classified as socialistic principles, Gandhian thoughts, and liberal intellectual principles. So, for example, Gandhian thoughts means, for example, prohibiting sales of liquor. So, liquor sales should be prohibited. But in many state governments, the government also functioning by getting income from the liquor shops. So here you have to understand that here the state government doesn't strictly adhere. The state government doesn't strictly follow the policy mentioned under directive principles. So as per Gandhian principle, which is mentioned in the directive principle, which is expected to be prohibited, the sale of liquor. I mean, liquor means alcohol, but in many states, which is not strictly followed. The principle, directive principle is not strictly followed, which are permitted. The sale of alcohol is permitted. So, giving most importance to cottage industries. That is also mentioned under directive principles. Besides that, slaughter of animals, banning the slaughter of animals. Slaughter means killing animals. Killing animals is prohibited under directive principles, but which are slaughtered. The animals are still slaughtered in our society, still killed in society. So it shows that which is not strictly following the directive principles. The governments, the state governments or the central governments are not strictly following the directive principles. So who have to observe it? The people should be aware of the directive principles. The people should strictly watch whether the state government or the central government makes legislation by giving importance to the directive principles. If the people are aware, then it will be implemented. The policies or the principles mentioned under the directive principles will be strictly implemented. I mean, while making law, these governments will give importance. So who should be aware of that? We, the students, the people, the citizen of India should be aware of the directive principles. Then only the governments will give importance to the principles mentioned under directive principles. So next we are going to talk about the striking difference between fundamental rights and the directive principles. So what are the differences? I already told you that fundamental rights are very essential. If the fundamental rights are violated, even by using Article 32, we can directly approach either High Court or Supreme Court. So that is the significance of fundamental rights. You see here, it was derived from the Constitution of USA. It means we copied the fundamental rights from the Constitution of USA. So you know, USA has the very smallest constitution, and we have the lengthiest constitution in the world. Ours is the lengthiest. So directive principles are not like that. It was drawn from the Constitution of Ireland. We copied it from Ireland Constitution. So, as far as the constitution is concerned, we have borrowed various aspects from various world constitutions. For an example, we took parliamentary system from England, and we took federal system from Canada, Constitution of Canada. So, like that, we have copied fundamental rights from USA and copied directive principles from the Constitution of Ireland. That's why we call Indian Constitution as the bag of borrowing. It's a bag which contains the various aspects that we borrowed from various constitutions of the world. So the second point here is that even the government cannot take away or abridge these rights. Take away means remove. Who cannot remove? Even the government cannot remove the fundamental rights. You know that the fundamental rights is violated by the government, then too we can approach the judiciary. The judiciary will protect all our rights. So, but these directive principles are not to be strictly followed by the government. These are mere instruction. These are mere instruction that which is expected to follow. The governments are expected to follow. So if the governments do not follow the directive principles, we cannot approach any court. We cannot approach the judiciary. So that's why these are instruction. So this is a striking difference between the fundamental rights and directive principles. So for an example, even nowadays the government also running liquor shop. So here which is permitted, sale of liquor is permitted. So for that we cannot approach judiciary. But if any of our rights, citizens' rights is violated, then we could approach judiciary. So these are all the rights which are enforceable by court of law. Court of law means we can approach. These are all enforceable means can be implemented. Also by court of law, if rights are violated, we can approach the judiciary. But these rights, the directive principles are violated, they are not enforceable by court of law, so we cannot approach courts by asking the government to strictly follow the directive principles. So these have legal sanction. This can be legal. These rights are legally sanctioned, legally permitted. But these farm or these directive principles are not legally sanctioned. So it is not implemented, it is not guaranteed, it is not enforceable by court of law. These rights strengthen political democracy in a country. So I have already told you that rights are very essential. Even the people who are living in a democratic country should be given rights. Because the people, in case they live without any rights, that cannot be called a democratic country. So in a democracy, which are to be given utmost importance, fundamental rights, without which becomes meaningless. The citizen's life becomes meaningless. So the implementation of these principles ensure social and economic democracy. So if the directive principles are implemented in our society, where we can achieve equality in the society, So which can also be economically developed. The democratic country also can be economically developed. So we might have got a clear-cut idea about fundamental rights and directive principles. Just in case we make a comparison, which are more important? Fundamental rights are more important than the directive principles. I hope that this video will be very useful to the students who are studying English medium, and also hope that video like this will be shot more and more in future. Thank you all. Thank you for watching. I'm S. Jayachandran, working as a teacher, BT assistant in Tanjore Government Higher Secondary School in Pudukkottai district. Thank you for watching.